In this video, I will be explaining serial communication, which is the next half of the module 4. So, in this part, we'll be discussing the basics of serial communication and the specifications of RS-232, standards and the connections between the 8051 and the RS-232 standards, and finally we'll be seeing some of the examples of serial port programming in assembly and the C. So before discussing about the serial communication, first we'll see what is meant by communication. So as you all know that communication is nothing but transmitting the information from one point to another point. So this communication can be between the two persons or the two devices. So mainly here we will be considering the communication between two devices. So when we say devices, we prefer always to transmit the data in the form of the digital, that is in the form of ones and zeros. So here the classification is given here. The type of transmission means data transmission can be transmitted parallelly or serially. Means the data transmission can be classified into two categories: parallel transmission and the serial transmission. Again, serial transmission is classified into synchronous transmission and the asynchronous transmission, and finally we will be using the asynchronous transmission in 8051 programming. So first we will see what is what are things how the parallel data transmission and the serial data transmission takes place. So here usually the data is any digital data is represented in the form of the byte, and that byte can be usually the one byte is referred for 8 bit. So in parallel data transfer, to transmit the 8 bit, there will be 8 lines, so that you can see in this diagrams, right? So here we have a sender and the receiver, and the bits we need to transmit from the sender to receiver are D0 to D7. So we have 8 lines to transmit between sender and the receiver. Means as many bits we need to transmit, so that equivalent number of communication lines we should have. So examples are printers and hard disk. Means the communication between the computer and printers on the hard disk. Okay, so in the parallel data transfer, lot of data can be transferred in a short amount of time using many wires, but it is suitable only for the short distance communication, but not suitable for the long distance communication, because when we use for the long distance communication, there are more chances of losing the data. So in case of the serial data transfer, to transmit the same data, we will be using the single line. For example, see this, we can see here we have a sender and the receiver, and only we have one line between sender and receiver. So here if there is a 8-bit data, then we need to transmit bit by bit. So here in our discussion, we will be considering the serial data transfer, right? So here we can see example here for the serial communication and the parallel communication, right? So here the bytes are represented here. This is the sender and this one is the receiver. Here the bits are transmitted bit by bit. But in the case of parallel communication, all the bits are transmitted at a time. So this is the example here. If you consider 10, if the data is 10110100, there are 8 lines to transmit this data to receiver. Means at the same time all the 8 bit can be transmitted to receiver. So in case of the serial communication, that 8-bit the byte should be transmitted bit by bit. So for that purpose, actually we need a shift register which will convert the byte into bit. So that is parallel in serial out shift register, and that will be transmitted through the telephone line. Again, at the receiver end, we need the shift register which will convert the serially received data into parallel data. So this is the additional circuitry we require in case of the serial communication. So just we'll see some of the parameter for the serial communication and the parallel communication. So if you consider the number of bits transmitted one clock pulse, in the serial it is 1 bit, but in case of the parallel it is n bit. So number of lines required to transmit n bits is, here we require only one line, but here the number of lines are equal to number of bits. So here speed of data transfer in serial it is slow because we need to transmit only 1 bit at a time, and the other things also we need to take care, that we'll see further. But in parallel all the bits we are transmitting at a time, so it is fast. So cost of transmission as low as one line is required, but here we require the more number of lines, so the cost is more. So application, it is used for serial transmission, it is used for long distance communication, for example between two computers, or this one is short distance communication like computer to printer. Okay, right? So next we'll see mode of transmission. So in the now we will be discussing only the serial mode of transmission. Again, in the serial mode of transmission, that is this classified into three categories: simplex, half duplex, and the full duplex. So in the simplex transmission, so when we have the sender and the receiver, only the data can be transmitted from sender to receiver, not the vice versa. So that is called simplex transmission. Example is only computer can send the data to printer, or another example radio and the television broadcast. So the next category is the half duplex, means the data is transferred one way at a time. It's nothing but the data can be transmitted from sender to receiver, or it can be transmitted from this side to this side, but only one at a time. Sorry, this one. Okay, so here you can see the direction here from the sender, and next here, and then it is to receiver. And if you consider here, this axis is sender and this is the direction. Okay, means in the half duplex, the data is transferred one way at a time. But in case of the full duplex, the data can be transferred from the sender to receiver and also from the opposite side, but there will be separate lines for those two, means at the same time the data can be transferred both the ways. So next, as we saw in the first slide, the serial transmission is classified into synchronous transmission and the asynchronous serial transmission. Okay, so here in asynchronous serial communication, it transfers a single byte at a time. It is widely used for character oriented transmission, whereas synchronous transmission is suited for block oriented transmission. So in this case, the data coming in at the receiving end of the data is all zeros and ones, as I told earlier, because we are preferring digital transmission. So when we are transmitting because the data are in the form of the zeros and ones, and we are transmitting the bit by bit, we need to follow some of the rules like how the data is packed and how many bits constitutes a character, and when the data begins and the end. So this is the critical part in the asynchronous serial communication, right? So here, as we know now, it is best suited for the character oriented transmission. So we need to see ASCII character, like usually the ASCII character is placed between the start and stop bits, and that is called as a data framing. See here. For example, now we will take the example how data framing takes place or arranged in the asynchronous transmission. Okay. So here we are considering ASCII character A, that is character A, and the ASCII equivalent value for A is 41H, that is 01000001. So here always this ASCII character is appended between the stop bit and the start bit. So there is one start bit and it is always 0, but one or two stop bits can be there, but in this slide or in this discussion will becomes only one stop bit. So when there is no transfer, the signal is 1. You can see here this one mark, that is called as a mark. So in this time it indicates that there is no transfer of the data. So and that is okay. Next, the transmission always begins with the start bit and then followed by D0, which is LSB of the bit, and then rest of the bits are followed, and finally the one stop bit indicating the end of the character A. So this is how the data is framed before transmitting through the communication channel. So here, as I said, we have in the earlier this one we need to follow set of protocols. For that already there is a interfacing standard and it is called as RS-232 standard. So all those things will be programmed in this IO interfacing transfer. So this RS-232 is a very popular one and it is used as a IO interfacing standard in all the PCs and the rest, like in many equipments. Okay. So here this RS-232 was set by the Electronic Industries Association in 1960. So in this one, its input and output voltage levels are not TTL compatible, but the today's devices are all having the TTL voltage levels. So for this reason, to convert the RS-232 voltage levels to TTL voltage levels, we need a voltage converters, and the one such converter we have is MAX232, and that is also called as a line driver. So this MAX232 must be used to convert the RS-232 voltage levels to TTL voltage levels, because our 8051 is a TTL compatible. So here in the RS-232 earlier we have a DB25 connector. It is nothing but this IO interfacing standard is having the 25 pins, but in this many of the pins are unused. So that's why later DB9 connector is invented, which is having total number of pins 9. So in our discussion we will be concentrating on DB9 connector, means what are the specific or the significance of all the 9 pins which are present in RS-232 DB9 connector. So these are the pins which are present in the DB9 connector, that is first the data carrier detect, received data, that is RxD pin, and then the transmitted data, that is TXD, data terminal ready, ground, data set ready, request to send, clear to send, and then the ring indicator. So in further we'll be seeing what are the significance of all these signals. So here before going through the significance of all the signals, first we'll see what is meant by this DTE and the DCE, because in the other signals except this DTE and the DCE, or rest of the signals are handshake signals. So DTE is a data terminal equipment. So it refers to the terminals and computer that sends and receive the data. And the DCE, data communication equipment, it refers to the communication equipment such as modems, which are responsible for transferring the data. Means DTE is nothing but the terminals or computer which sends or receive the data, and DCE which is responsible for transferring the data. So the simplest connection between a PC and a microcontroller requires minimum of 3 pins, that is TXD, RXD and the ground. Okay, so here we can see here now we have here the DTE, that is computer, and here in this case we have a DCE and the modem. So here the direction tells that the directions of handshaking signals are given. For example, DTE, the direction is going from DTE to DCE, means this is the output pin of the DTE and input to the DCE. So similarly here we have a DC here DSR, which is going from DCE to DTE. So these are all called as a handshaking signal, which are responsible for noise-free communication. Okay, so now we'll see data terminal ready, that is DTR. So after going through the self-test, we know that now DT is nothing but data terminal equipment, which refers for the computer which sends or receives the data. So when the computer goes through the self-test, when it is turned on, it sends out the signal DTR. It sends out the signal DTR to indicate that it is ready for communication. So this DT will send out this signal to DCE to indicate that we are seeing here DTE, data DTR, that is data terminal ready. Okay, DTR. So next we have DSR, that is data set ready. Here when DC is turned on and has gone through the self-test, it asks a DSR to indicate that it is ready to communicate. Next, request to send. So this is when the DT device a byte to transmit, it asserts the RTS signal to modem that it has a byte of data to transmit. This signal is going from DTE to DCE to indicate that it is having the byte to transmit. So then clear to send. So this one is acknowledgement to this signal, that is when modem has room for storing the data to receive, it sends out the signal CTS to DTE to indicate that it can receive the data now. So without this handshaking signal, the DTE cannot send the data. After receiving this acknowledgement, then only the DTE will send the data. So next is data carrier detect. So the modem asserts signal DCD to inform the DTE that a valid carrier has been detected and that contact between it and the other modem is established. And next we have a ring indicator, that is, this is an output from the modem and an input to the PC, is nothing but DTE, indicates that the telephone is ringing and it goes on and off in synchronous with the ringing sound. So these are the handshaking signals of the RS-232 DB9 when we communicate between the DTE and the DC. Okay, so now we'll see how to connect this RS-232-8051. Means here we have two DTs, one is a computer and another is a 8051, and to connect those two things we are using the RS-232 standard. So here, similar to RS-232, the 8051 has also two pins, RxD and the TxD, that are used specifically for transferring and receiving the data serially. So these two pins are part of the port 3 group, that is P3.0 and 3.1. So these pins are TTL compatible, but as I said earlier, the RS-232 standards are not TTL compatible. So in between the 8051 and the RS-232, we require a line driver, that is MAX232 chip, to convert or to make them RS-232 compatible. Okay, so now we just briefly will see what are the specifications of MAX232, or what are the pins are present in the MAX232. Okay, so this we can see here itself. This is the MAX232 IC, and this is having the set of pins. Two set of pins are there, that is transmit in, transmit out. This is receive out and receive in, and the second set similarly transmit and this one. Okay, so now we can see here, this is the TTL side and this one is the RS-232 side. So TTL side means these pins are connected to 8051, and this RS-232 side means these pins are connected to this IO standard is DB9. Okay, so now for example, if we consider this one, transmit in and the transmit out. So this transmit in is connected to TXD pin of the 8051. You can see here it is the pin number 11. Okay, and similarly T1 out, that is to the RS-232 side, and the pin number here it is 14, and that is connected to pin number 2 of the DB9, where this one is a RxD of the DB9 connector. Okay, so similarly if we consider this one, receive in, so this is RS-232 side, means this pin 13 pin is connected to here DB9 connector, and receive out is connected to RxD of the 8051. So this is how we connect the make a connection between 8051 and the DB9, means our RS-232 connect standard using MAX232. So this MAX232 is having the 4 capacitors, which can vary from 1 microfarad to 22 microfarad. The most widely used value for this capacitors is 22 microfarad. Okay, so now those till here we have discussed the basics of serial communication, and now we'll see how the 8051 how the programming is done for 8051 to transmit the data serially. So these programming things we will discuss in the next video. Thank you.